Let's talk education. Let's talk education.
Hello and welcome to another Let's Talk Education, a production of the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Development and Labor. My name is Chris Hackney. In today's program, we continue our discussion with Mr. Glenroy Cumberbatch, who is the CEO and Registrar of the Caribbean Examinations Council. So welcome back to our set and welcome back to our program.
Thanks, Chris.
Right, in our previous program, you gave us a lot of insight into some of the programs that are being utilized by CXC to reach some of those who have fallen on the wayside, probably not done enough subjects. Probably you could tell us about some of the other programs that, apart from the CSEC, that we will get into in just a bit.
Yeah, the Caribbean Vocational Qualifications is one of the programs that we're doing. There is a mismatch between the number of students who graduate from schools and the number of them who actually go into employment. It is a mystery in a way because we would expect that once you have been educated, there is a position for you somewhere in the job market. But that seemed not to be working out. So more emphasis now is being placed on getting persons prepared with a skill that would lead them back into the job market. So many of the education systems in the region are determining that persons who leave secondary school should leave with their regular qualification, but should also leave with a Caribbean vocational qualification. And the Caribbean vocational qualification is a work-related qualification. Any occupation that there is can be broken down into a set of competencies. And once those competencies are there, the students will be exposed to each of the competencies in unit form. Once they have completed the units and demonstrate that they are competent in the units, then they will be awarded a certificate for the CVQ.
How do you feel that the CVQ has done as far as reaching the demographics that you hoped that it would have?
Well, it has done very well. It has done very well in a number of countries. There are some other countries that are slower to get off the mark with them, but generally in Trinidad, in St. Lucia, and some other countries, we are doing fairly well in extending it to as many students as possible. What is necessary now is to convince parents that it is something useful for their children, because most parents seem to believe that education and certification and qualification is around becoming a doctor or a lawyer and not about all the other occupations that are required to improve a country and to help this economy to grow.
Yeah, just such as those of the technical vocational education and training.
Technical vocational skills, all of those things will also help. We need skills in society, and these skills are done through a lot of the technical vocational programs.
Yes. We know that in the past that when we had done secondary school CXC, we referred to our award as a CXC award, CXC exams. Of recent time, people have been hearing of CSEC.
Yeah.
So clarify CXC, CSEC as vis-a-vis the Caribbean Examinations Council and what it does.
It was always CSEC. But what happened is that we were offering one certificate between 1979 and about 1998. So it was one qualification we offered, and everybody referred to it as the CXC because it was what CXC was offering. When CAPE was introduced back in 1998 or so, then they realized, oh, we can't call it CXC also. so there's a need for
you're going to confuse people.
Yeah, so the people themselves, you know, we even had some person saying, I can show you that CXC was written on my certificate. Yes, Caribbean Examinations Council is written on the certificate.
That's
but
the organization.
But the qualification itself says CSEC, so that is something different, yeah.
Yes.
By the way, we don't have any credits and distinctions and so on in CXC. You just get a grade with your profiles.
Definitely. With the CSEC continuing to grow in the Caribbean, we find that a lot of students are taking more subjects now. Do you find that this helps, or is it watering down some of the other children that can't seem to catch up with those who can take 21 subjects as compared to those who can only take 5. How do you view that kind of improvement and that kind of growth?
Well, one of the things is that the CSEC is no longer growing. It plateaued, and now it is almost declining. When we explore what are the possible reasons, one of them was for those people who have to pay for themselves. The economic conditions in some instances prevented them from paying for their subject. And in other instances, the population in the region is falling. Nevertheless, there's still room for growth because we have a large amount of out-of-school population that have not been completed, they have not got their 5 subjects that are required for the world of work or required for further education. So there is an opportunity for them also to get their CSEC. We are focusing on the private institutions and encouraging the private institutions. We want to certify the private institutions in a way to give them a stamp to say they are certified centers for offering CXC qualifications, which will give them a boost in marketing to get some of those people to come back and join the education system to be better prepared for work. Generally though, CSEC is still our flagship qualification,
yes,
and we will continue to promote it. We believe that more than 23%, right now only 23% of the population that is eligible to write our exams actually write our exams, and this is across the region. So it says to me that in a region where we focus a lot on service economies, and for service economies we have a high set of knowledge or highly skilled people, we will not be able to provide the labor force for those economies unless our students get better qualified.
All right, you're in tune and you're listening to and you're watching Let's Talk Education, a production of the Ministry of Education. With you for a break. We're back with our discussion after this.
Stop, listen, and learn St. Lucia. Treat children with respect, understanding, and dignity. Remember, they will be the adults of tomorrow. I'm doing my part. You too can play your part.
Take responsibility for creating a child-friendly society. This message brought to you by the Early Childhood Services of the Ministry of Education and Culture.
And welcome back to Let's Talk Education as we continue our discussion with the CEO and the Registrar of the Caribbean Examinations Council, that is Mr. Glenroy Cumberbatch. So as we will continue in our discussion on CSEC, what is your view of and how do we address the subjects where students perform very low at? We know we continue to have problems with mathematics. Children seem to be showing very little interest in the sciences as well.
Well, when the people say to me that we're having a problem with mathematics and English in particular, I smile, because there are about 100,000 people who do mathematics every year. And out of that 100,000, roughly about 50,000 or so are successful. There is no other subject except English where we have 50,000 people being successful in the program.
Isn't that amazing that,
right?
that kind of information has been...
Yeah. So yes, we would like
That's
everybody
amazing.
to have mathematics,
Yeah.
and for that purpose then they're not doing as well as we would like. But I don't think we have 50,000 people coming up with science in any given year, or 50,000 people coming up with IT in any given year. So in a sense, when we compare, for the population size that is required to write the exams, English and mathematics dominate. But the others, the students who should be exposed, are not even exposed to write the exam in those areas of science, IT, and so forth. We also try to push a lot physical education and sport, and food and nutrition, home economics, and those areas. Now, they may not seem important to the public, but just think about the illnesses and the diseases that are dominating our region. And in many cases, it is the non-communicable diseases.
So it might be more for self-information.
Yeah, and a way of life. How do you from early focus yourself in a way of life to exercise, to play sport, to get involved in some activities that keep you going, to reduce your chances of getting diabetes and high blood pressure.
Yeah.
How do you look at what is needed to nourish your body? and to nourish it in a way that prevent you from getting access to these non-communicable diseases also. So remember, education is not just about what will give me a job,
Yes.
but also what will help me to live a better life,
life.
and what to be a better citizen.
Right.
And a workforce that is ill, away from work a lot, a health system that have lots of people coming into it with all kinds of diseases that should not have occurred, provided that they have lived better, better lives, eat better, participate more in sport and so on. That reduction would also help the country and the economy of the country.
Definitely, I agree. With the plateau that you spoke about, what is your antidote for dealing with that and trying to change that effect that has happened over the years?
Yes. I think part of it is to rethink and go back to the basics of what education is about. I think at some point in time, we begin to focus on education as a way of getting jobs, or education as a way to go to university. And we lost the primary purpose of education, which is about developing good individuals. And once we go back to that all the time,
Yeah.
then we can begin to see the importance of subjects. What CXC is doing, and shortly should be sending out some information on why do we study subjects, why do we do mathematics.
Yes.
We don't do mathematics because university requires it or because an employer requires it. You do mathematics because it helps you to think in a particular way. It is a way of thinking, to think logically, to think in a systematic way. Why do we do science? And we go through each one. Why do you do it, and what it can do to you as an individual?
And that kind of
as a country.
information is important for the parents too,
Yeah.
because they themselves don't understand why would you want to do algebra and you don't use it in daily life.
Exactly. And in a way, we do use it. We do
they don't
use a lot
understand
of
why
things,
it's
but,
used,
but it isn't used in the same format that it is being taught in school. And hence, the reason for SBAs and so on, to show you, to make the link between what we do in schools and what happens within your community.
In the 2 minutes we have left, what's your advice for teachers, principals, the education system on the whole in St. Lucia, and by extension the Caribbean, yes, but the landscape, you've been exposed to St. Lucia. What's your advice to them in instructing and providing the information to students, preparing them for CSEC and the other programs that you offer?
Well, what I will say is that if you look in 2010, you look at the number of students who graduated from the schools in St. Lucia with 5 or more subjects, including English and math. That number has risen significantly by 2015. So there's a direction that we're going in that is the right direction. The percentage of persons who are taking the exams, we may need to look at that and say, if I took in 1,000 children in 2010, by 2015, what happened to those 1,000? Where are they, what qualifications they have, maybe a good figure to look at. But generally, there are 3 things that work very well in education. One is, when parents are involved in their children's education, the students perform better. And I'm not talking about being involved by writing their work for them and doing their homework and so on. I'm talking about being involved where you encourage them,
Support.
you support them, you talk to them, you take them to the library, let them join the library so they can have more access to more information and more research materials and so on. When teachers give good feedback in a timely manner, that helps improve the learning of a child. And clearly, when children take responsibility for their own learning, when they are part of their own learning, when they go to the website, they get copies of the syllabuses, they look at the subject reports, and they try to do as much for themselves as possible. When they work in groups with their peers and so on, all of that helps to create greater knowledge and help them to become much more mature and much more in tune with what is required. What I say basically is that they become more self-regulatory. When you reach the stage where you're self-regulatory, that is the highest point of education maybe that you can be.
Well said. I want to thank you, Mr. Cumberbatch, for being part of our program, and of course, hope you enjoyed your tour in St. Lucia, and I'm looking forward to many great things for the Caribbean Examinations Council.
Thank you.
Well, you've been watching Let's Talk Education, a production of the Ministry of Education, where we just spoke with Mr. Glenroy Cumberbatch of the Caribbean Examinations Council. As always, thanking you for watching. I'm Chris Sackney. Until next time.
Let's talk education.